grew up in Knox County. My mother was a school teacher. Back then it was a city school system. She taught for 30 years in the city school system. My dad was a buyer for Miller's Department Store. Some of y'all may remember that, but that goes back a long, long, that was before Dillard's and West Town and a long time ago. So, I went to West High School. Of course, West High School and Farragut were in a serious competition back then. So, and neither one of the schools look like they do now, I can assure you. I went on to the University of Tennessee. I graduated with a master's degree in criminal justice from the University of Tennessee. I started work at the sheriff's office in 1980. Back then there was about 196 employees. Now there's 1,000. The first car I had was 5 years old and had 166,000 miles on it. So things have changed a lot. I will tell you that in the 90s, we have more officers now than we have than when we have now. So just think about how that population has exploded in Knox County, and that we had more officers in the 90s than we do now. And that's one of the main things that I look at. We need to get a full complement of officers at the sheriff's office. We're down about 100 officers. We've got about 40 in the pipeline that we're hiring, and we still need about 45 more. We're having to pull from different divisions to make sure our patrol division does the job that we need to make sure our citizens are safe. And that's not anybody's fault. We went through COVID. There's been a lot of times. At one time we were 200 officers down. So we certainly have progressed and gotten better, and we're doing a better job at that. It's hard to keep, and David was talking about corrections. You know, it's hard to keep people in corrections. When they come to work, they've got an idea, and then they come out there and they're with prisoners all day long. A lot of people, when they think it's going to be a great job, and then they get there and they're like, oh, this is not what I signed up for. You know, so we lose about 25 to 30% of the people who come to work there. So you can see it's hard for us to try to retain employees. The second thing I like to talk about is our schools. Right now in our schools, some of our schools have one officer for 3 schools. And I don't think that's acceptable. And then again, that's not anybody's fault. We've had to take from the school division to put people on patrol to make sure that we answer enough calls and keep our community safe. But that's one of my big things. I think when a parent drops their children off at school every morning, the last thing they need to worry about is, are they safe? I think it relies on us to make sure that when they drop their kids off in the morning, that they stay safe. So I certainly want to beef that unit up. And also homeless and immigration, both are big projects that we have to deal with. And I know even in this area, you never saw anybody at Walk Road holding a sign, "We'll work for food," or Level Road, or sleeping under the bridge. That just didn't happen. And what's happening now is they're coming out into their community, and we've got to get a handle on that, because that doesn't happen overnight. It goes on and on and on, and it progresses. So we've got to get a handle on that. Also, I was lucky enough when my administration was here that we got 287G. We have the jail model of 287G. Now there's a task force model. And that task force is that the federal government trains our officers to be federal officers for them. So what we do is we would have our officers trained, and we would put them on patrol shifts, where if one of our patrolmen encounter an illegal immigrant, then they could call one of these federally trained officers to the scene, and they could start the deportation process right there. It also alleviates the problem with having ICE agents on the street. These people would be under the sheriff. The sheriff would have complete control, and they would all be sheriff's deputies. I was lucky enough that the citizens of Knox County elected me to be the sheriff in 2007, and I was the sheriff from 2007 to 2018. And I asked for your support, and I asked for you to vote for me again for sheriff. If you got any questions,
does anyone have any questions? Now you would have an opportunity to ask any questions you want. Obviously, our group always has an excellent reputation. I want you to keep this in mind tonight, of always being respectful, asking good, informative questions, so let's make sure we do that with all candidates. Does anyone have a question that they would like to ask? Yes, sir.
What's the main reason that we're having trouble getting new deputies to sign up? We're down how many? More than 100?
Well, we're actually down 100, but we've got about 40 or 45 in the pipeline being hired right now. And they're going through that process. And it's a background and psychological. There's certain things that they have to do before we can hire them. But they start in corrections. So once they go to corrections, like I said, they get out there and you know, it's not the best job in the world. And this administration's done really good. They've gotten the pay up. The pay's comparable with other agencies around here. That's not to say that we don't need to keep it up, but it's just a really tough job to keep people. And we still got about 45 more that we need to hire. One of the things I want to look at is hiring people out of the military. Somebody that's 40, 45 years old, been in the military 15, 20 years, been through training, regiment. No, and it's not to say this younger generation is different. You know, when I started at the sheriff's office, I made $8,700 a year. And I worked 7 straight days and was off 2, and 7 straight days and off 2, and 7 straight days and off 3. This younger generation's not going for that. You know, it's about money, it's about time off, and that's okay. Because they want to be just like everybody else. They want to have big screen TVs and jet skis, and they want to do the same things that everybody else are able to do. And at the salary it was, they couldn't do that. So we're doing good with that. We're coming back from COVID. We're coming back from stuff, but we still got to keep our finger on the pulse of it because we've got to continue. We can't slow down.
What is the process when they're down there at Campbell Station Road? I mean, what can law enforcement do?
Well, number one, it depends upon if they're trespassing. If they're on somebody's property or state right of way or that kind of stuff, then you can remove them. When I was a sheriff, we had a group of inmates that went with officers, and you have to. Homeless people, number one, 80% to 5% have a mental issue. Okay, and a lot of them are hoarders, so they will gather stuff that's just tons and tons and tons of stuff. So you have to have the ability to remove that when you remove them. You can't leave the stuff there because they'll come back. And the problem is most all the goods and services we offer are inside the city. And now they're starting to migrate in the county, and we don't have the ability to offer them medical treatment, clothing, housing, food. All that stuff is located inside the city. So when we encounter them out here, the best thing to do is we try to remove the shanty towns, is what they call them, and make sure we take them and get them somewhere where they can get what they need. It's not fair for anybody to live under a bridge. It's not fair to live it's not fair for taxpayers to have to step over people when they go to a business or go to a fast food restaurant. So it works both ways. You have to be compassionate, but you can't be an enabler. At some point in time, you have to put it back on them. They have to help themselves also.
Farragut belongs to precinct.
Yes.
What can you do?
That would be the first thing that I would do is make sure that Farragut has that precinct in Farragut. Not in Cedar Bluff, but in Farragut. I was the first one to open the precinct in Farragut when I was the sheriff. We have opportunities that we can put a precinct back in Farragut, and that would be the first thing that I would do.
This gentleman back here has a question.
So what would be your strategy if there's a budget increase that you deem necessary? How are you going to work with the county commission? How are you going to kind of work that process of increasing the budget, particularly for pay, benefits, the pension issues?
That's a great question. Number one, it's a $115 million budget now. When I was the sheriff, it was $82 million. So it's come that far since 2018. Number two, the mayor and the CEO are the people who decides about the raises and the money. The sheriff can ask for a 15% raise. That's a wish list. Unless the mayor and the county commission decided that's what they're going to do, then you're not gonna get that. So you have to have a communication with the commission, you have to have a communication with the mayor. You know, this is a tough job. This is the third largest sheriff's office in the state of Tennessee. It's not Mayberry. It's not, there's no, when you become sheriff of this county, the law enforcement part of it is gone. You are a CEO, you are an administrator. You're the guy that has to work through the deals and get 6 votes in county commission to get equipment and cars. What people don't understand about the sheriff's office budget is that there's not a lot of fat in that budget. There are things that we have to have, cars, equipment, guns, blue lights, all the things that we need, we have to have. We don't have a choice. We have to have those things. So the biggest part of our budget is employees and benefits. You know, about 90%, 85 to 90% is that. So if people talk about cutting something, if you're gonna cut something, you have to cut employees. And I already told you, we're 100 down. So, you know, you can't, and the jail's busting out at the seams out at Maloneyville Road. We got 1,200 people out there. Another pod's $40–50 million. Nobody in here gets used to that pod. It's something that we all are gonna pay for, but it doesn't help us. It's not a park, it's not a greenway, it's not a place we can take our children to go. It's a place that we spend an enormous amount of money. That $115 million budget, $65 million of it's for the jail, for incarcerating prisoners. And that's every year. That's not a one-time expense, that's every year.
Yes, sir.
What's your view on dash cams and body cams?
My first administration, I was lucky enough, we started the body-worn cameras. We had dash-mounted cameras, but we didn't have body-worn cameras. That was before the George Floyd incident. We got lucky. We got in on the ground floor where it wasn't becoming mandatory. We got a really good deal on cameras and the price and the storage. Now it's astronomical through the roof, millions and millions of dollars just to keep the storage of the video. But it's here to stay. We have to have those things, and every officer should have a body-worn camera.
Any other questions?
What do you do with the mental patients when you pick them up?
Well, it just depends. Normally, if they're having some kind of issue or problem, they would be either transported by ambulance or by a sheriff's deputy to an emergency room for an emergency evaluation. Then the process would start there. Used to, we had Lakeshore that we took people to. We don't have that anymore. They took that away from us. That's why we have such an issue with the mentally ill now. They used to be in Lakeshore. They're not there anymore. They're on the street. They either have died, or they're on the street, or in their jail. At one time, the Knox County Detention Facility was the largest mental institution east of the Mississippi River. So, and those things are expensive. I mean, you don't understand. Helen Ross McNabb does a great job. We partner with them, and they do a great job of helping us with our mental ill people. But it's expensive. The psychotropic drugs they're on are hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's I mean, you know, we got people out here living on the street that are not criminals, that are veterans, and they don't get as good a treatment as the people in our jail do. And there's something wrong with that. You know, it's not the way it should be. But we've got these regulations and rules and all these things we have to follow, and people in jail are treated better than people living on the street.
Is there a role for volunteers under your management to supplement your personnel resources to get the job done? And one example might be to have a couple geezers like me walking around the school.
Yeah, there is. We had a little debate the other night, and that came up. We've had to, since COVID, and that's another thing, it's curbed what we do. We have stand volunteers who go out and check on the elderly. We have people who look after people with dementia. There's all kinds of programs that we have available to us. We have a chaplain program, a great chaplain program. But since COVID, all that has been depleted, and we're just starting to get back into that. But absolutely, we have a great citizens academy where citizens in the county can come and see what officers do. They can ride in a police car. They can get the same training that the officers get. It's a really good program, and we're starting to pick those back up again. But it takes time because they were depleted completely.
What caused it to be depleted in the first place? What caused it to be cut?
Because of COVID. When all we do is go out and visit people, we had to stop that. We couldn't send people to go out and see. All the volunteers, they couldn't go anymore. We had food programs and all that kind of stuff, so we couldn't do it because we weren't able to go. You know, they were afraid we were going to pass it. And most of our volunteers were elderly, the ones that helped us, and that. So we had to take care of them also.
Any other questions? All right, let's thank our sheriff candidates.